It's not really a surprise that Dead Island 2 sucked, but after waiting so many years for it, after watching the trailer, what, like 12 years ago, and then having the studio go bankrupt, and then suddenly having it come back, it was definitely a little disheartening, disappointing, especially with the vibe shift and just the overall feel of the game. You have the original two, Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. Some didn't like Riptide. It was okay, but compared to Dead Island 2, it was golden, man. I mean, just because you're going from this more serious nature to almost like a Marvel style thing where the characters are making quips every 5 seconds. You can hardly take any side quests seriously. You know what? I feel like the only thing I can really say anything good about is the gameplay. The gameplay was pretty good. They kept that formula where you could still mod weapons and whatnot and make wacky, crazy combinations. And you know what? That is what Dead Island's about, right? Like, it's not entirely what it's about, man. If you ask me, they really fucked up killing the four main characters at the end of Riptide. Um, I would have done that, but maybe I just got too attached to them, or we thought they did anyway, since Sam B comes back or whatever, right? See, that there in itself, I can't even remember the fucking game, man. Like, it, there's almost nothing memorable about Dead Island 2. I mean, sure, the graphics are great, the gameplay, the shooting, the melee, you know, the melee chains, the combos, the upgrades. Okay, yeah, but that is Dead Island. They nailed that. I will say that they nailed that. But the rest of it is just inconceivable garbage. Now, I'm not going to say I know anything about why the studio shut down right after they released the trailer. I know that Dead Island 2 was supposed to be under development and at that point, but somebody dropped the ball. They're like, okay, we're out of funding, I guess, fuck it. But then they got picked back up again. It's a little confusing. It is. And you know what? Hey, having Dead Island 2 out at all is great. That's amazing. Okay. But maybe I'm just not that kind of person, that kind of gamer to enjoy this mindless fucking shit, because that is what it is, okay? In the original Dead Island, there is at least more of an overarching plot. There was more shit to look forward to. They were trying to get off the island any means necessary. Riptide was a little convoluted. I didn't expect to be shooting an AK on the side of a boat for the intro. It was interesting to say the least. A fun little short thing. I wouldn't say I hated it though. Now, I'm not going to jerk off the originals just for no reason, okay? Because there were some things I hated about them, okay? One thing right off the bat, the fucking gas station juice shit, which I think you had to do twice, picking up those big fucking crates of juice or whatever they were. It made you so slow, and then the drive was like 10 minutes straight, there and back, it was fucking. Some of the puzzles, though, were pretty cool. I'll say that. Having to figure out how to actually get inside the gas station. And, you had to like jump on top of the shed or on top of it itself or something. Like, you had to actually think outside the box, okay? And that's what I don't like about these newer games. They don't give you room to do that. They don't let you think for yourself. They just tell you, okay? It's like with yellow paint. They literally fucking tell you, because if not, they'd get review bombed by people who are saying, oh, well, I don't know how to get past this section, for like the average fucking video game journalist, because if we don't get our game picked up by the press within 2 hours of its release, like a week before it fucking releases, then it's an automatic flop, right? We need video game journalists who don't even know how to play the games to review our games because people care and listen to what they say, right? Yeah, totally. The system they had going from landmark to landmark, I can tell you now, I remember about 80% of them clearly. The initial beach cabin that you're in, then you move to the lifeguard station, then the lighthouse. I think then you move inland. The church is involved at some point, which is like when you're into the mid game and you start like actually shooting and shit. Like, look, man, I remember this shit, man. And they think it was all in the fucking 360. I know you had to like split up the maps and all that, but it looked good for the time. Okay, it played good. Um, Driving the cars, that was okay. You could tell it was pretty basic, but it's gonna be basic. Okay, it's not NASCAR. It's not Need for Speed. It's not Forza, where driving is the main focus. It's literally just you need to do this, or you're gonna be carrying a box of juice like half a mile, which I'm sure somebody has done at some point. And then there was the jungle part. I never really liked that. And then the actual prison itself, I think it was on the island. Um, but the point is, man, it has all these landmarks, and the way it's laid out, you recognize them, you know them. And the music was fucking golden. I don't really remember the music from Dead Island 2, nor Riptide, but Riptide was just shorter in general. Or maybe it could just be because I have more hours in the original game. Going back and playing it and just thinking about it, having these fond memories about it. I think ultimately I could just pin it on there being a different studio for it altogether. Maybe that the different studio was like, okay, we got the gameplay down, we nailed it, and then absolutely shitting themselves on the story section of it because that really is what they did. I come from a I come from story games. Okay, I do play games with my friends. I play multiplayer games every fucking day now. Okay, I don't play story games as much as I used to. I think that might just be because of games in general moving away from story games, from solo single player games. Don't ask me why. I guess maybe to monetize it more, to shove in more microtransactions and battle passes, just everything you fucking hate about modern gaming. But I come from, like, if Call of Duty didn't release with its campaign every year, I would be fucking upset, okay? If you didn't, like, because your friends aren't always going to be there, okay? They're going to be at work, they're going to be sleeping, they're going to be out doing other things with other friends because they don't like you. The point is, nobody can be everywhere at once. And when that happens, you might have some free time. You're like, hey, man, it's time to continue this amazing zombie hacker slash story about these guys trying to get off this remote island. Okay, the premise itself wasn't even that interesting. The only thing interesting about it was the fact that it's an island, and they really took that and ran with it with the different sections. The characters were more memorable. Okay, I know it was more. I had more of a serious tone, but they still had some jokes and whatnot. There was still some brevity, some moments like that in there. Okay, it's not a complete and total fucking tragedy, right? Uh, Now in two, I believe there were more characters to choose from. But that doesn't mean any of them were good. However, I think there was only one I liked, but I don't remember his name. Um, just really cookie cutter bland shit. I know it sounds to you like I'm literally picking apart every single aspect of the game. I'm like, you're like, fuck it, dude. You didn't even get past the intro. I did, man. We played for like 3 hours, co-op like how you would on the older games, and that is nice. The fact that they brought co-op over, that was nice. Okay, I like that. How many games do that? Very, very few do that. Actually, I think the new Call of Duty is supposed to be doing that. Um, but yeah, split screen died, and with it died co-op gaming mostly. Really sad shit, man. Just another part of your life gone. In terms of actual gameplay, uh, Dead Island 2 actually really did improve on the gameplay because it was clunky in the originals. Trying to drive around, trying to turn in a fucking 180-degree angle. Okay, everything felt slow. Everything felt just again clunky. Whenever you actually get guns in the city and you begin shooting, you're amazed that there's actually guns in the game at all. You're like, damn, I thought this should just be melee the entire time. Not that there were much, but like combinations for the actual guns, but that part makes sense. Anyway, like the sensitivity for the shooting itself, it's like the driving, okay? And it makes sense because melee is literally 90% of the game. So this other shit is just a way for them to bridge the gap to really show, oh, you've made it to this part of the game, right? And the melee does come back. It's not just literally shooting all throughout after that, but it does come back in bits and pieces. It's not like totally ignored though, right? But it does have a pretty healthy balance of melee and shooting after that, which can be hard to do, especially once you've added more guns to the mix. There's not even that many guns. One thing I remember fondly is modders, because the game was on the fucking 360, and every game on the 360 was getting jailbroken or whatever the fuck they did. Okay, and people would just join your session, lag you the fuck out, crash your 360, give you a modded weapon with a damage of 9 million. Okay, it was fucking stupid, man. They would like teleport it, like, you know, they have all the basic things. It was funny as shit. They would one shot you and then pick you back up 20 million times in a row. It was great, man. That's one thing you can't have with the newer game, you know, because it's on newer platforms and shit. Well, it probably will happen once we move on to the newer generations if consoles don't die first, which they very well might, since Microsoft is allegedly trying to make the new Xbox a Xbox PC fusion, which in itself says anything you need to know. With Xbox Game Pass being the majority of the reason to even go to Xbox, which is getting a better and better deal, and they fucking know that. I don't know, just the consoles themselves aren't looking too amazing for me right now. I mean, I moved to PC years ago, man. That's why I'm able to do this shit, talk to you right now. It's so much easier. There's so much more shit you can do. At least on Xbox, they allow mods, but it's only for certain games and only certain mods. So if you like people cherry picking and choosing what you yourself can play on your game, even though it isn't your game, it is a license to the game that you bought in order to play the game, as long as you play nice, then you'll be just fine buying FIFA every year, buying Call of Duty every year. Just being a mindless fucking consumer. Fuck you, actually. Fuck you. If this is the target demographic, man, we're fucked. We're actually screwed. I've never felt more hopeless in regards to gaming, man. It's just getting more and more expensive, and there's no point. Like, you want to buy a 5090, okay, because it is literally the best graphics card on the market right now. Go buy a 5090. Half the reason it is at the price that it is because they're pushing AI. Because AI is going to be in everything because it is the new thing. I know. But some people don't want AI, okay? And even if they don't want AI, it's still going to be in everything they fucking do. You still have to interact with it. Your coworkers are still going to be submitting emails to you written by ChatGPT because they didn't want to write it themselves because they fucking hate you. That in itself is relatable, but I would at least write the goddamn thing, right? Like, how lazy can you be? Why can't I get a job like that, man? Writing emails all day and shit. But not even, man. Sending it to a fucking LLM. Like, it's just nepotism to the highest degree. And then in gaming, Steam has it disclosed whether or not you have AI in your game. I know there's a few games out there that don't do that. I'm sure. I wonder what happens. I think maybe the game might get revoked or they get warned or some shit. I don't know. They're supposed to tell you whether or not they have generative AI, whether it's with the coding, the art, the voice acting. Okay, literally an entire fucking game can be made out of AI, and nobody would be anything the wiser. Some people would be able to know instantly, which is great, and then be whistleblowers for the general populace who would literally eat shit if you gave it to them. But we are like colossally fucked on like the stakes of which you have no fucking idea, man. I feel like these newer games are just symptoms of a bigger issue. Companies want to wring as much money out of us as they can, Hence more and more microtransactions. One company tried putting a fucking a skin in a game 15 years ago, and it was a hit success. So now microtransactions have to be in every fucking game. There have to be seasons. Games have to be extended for 20 years before we get the next entry because they don't want to let go of it. It makes sense. Why spend money on a new game whenever the old one's working just fine? There's just so much shit I could fucking like